Hey everyone, it's Michelle Caruana, creator of the Marketing Junkie podcast. And in today's video, I'm going to talk all about one of the most underutilized ways to target your Facebook ad for better performance, and that is lookalike audiences. So before I get into all the details, I'm going to explain exactly what a lookalike audience is and why it can be so powerful. I'm going to give you my best lookalike audience tips, and then finally, I'm going to actually go into Ads Manager and show you how to create one, so that you can go ahead and set these up for your own ads. But before we get into all the details, I just want to remind you, if you want more Facebook ad tips and more marketing tips, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, leave a like and a comment, and hit the little bell button after you subscribe. That will make sure you never miss any time I upload a new video full of free tips and strategies. All right, let's get started. So first, I want to define lookalike audiences, and this is from Social Media Examiner, and I think it's a really great way to put it, and then I'm going to break it down a little bit further. So Social Media Examiner says, lookalike audiences are a Facebook segmentation tool that finds users whose demographics and interests are similar to those of your existing followers. These are easy to create and implement, making them an extremely powerful marketing tool for efficiently finding high-converting users. Now, what does this mean exactly? Basically, a lookalike audience is telling Facebook, okay, I have this group of 1,000 people who have liked my Facebook page, who have signed up for my email list, who have visited my website. So I have this group of X number of people, as long as it's over 100. So let's just say it's 1,000 people for demonstration purposes. You're telling Facebook, hey, I want you to use the billions and billions of rows of customer data to find me people that are like these 1,000 people. Now, there are some tips and tricks to using these audiences most effectively, which I'm going to get into now. So first, why are lookalike audiences so important? And I'm going to read again from Social Media Examiner. Facebook leverages its massive trove of customer data to connect the dots between your target audience, helping you find highly qualified users you previously wouldn't have been able to reach. So in layman's terms, this basically says that Facebook only puts a small, limited number of data points in front of us as the marketers, which we call interest-based targeting or behavior-based targeting. So basically, when you're in the ad set level of Ads Manager, it allows you to target people based on interests. People who like horticulture, people who are interested in Facebook advertising, people who are interested in specific people or influencers, like let's say Amy Porterfield. So what this is basically saying is that Facebook only puts a small, teeny tiny fraction of the amount of data it has on its users in front of us in the form of this interest-based, behavior-based targeting. So what a lookalike audience does is it really allows us to lean on all of the data that Facebook doesn't make available to us as advertisers. And this is a really powerful tool, especially because in the last couple years, Facebook has really taken away not only the amount of data it makes available to us on the front end through this interest-based targeting, but we've also noticed as Facebook advertisers that the quality of these interest-based and behavior-based targets have really deteriorated in quality, and they aren't converting as well. And that is for a variety of different reasons. Increased data privacy laws and practices. I know we're all talking about the new Apple update. This is going to severely deteriorate the quality of these audiences because it's limiting the amount of data that Facebook is able to put in front of advertisers based on tracking users' behaviors and things like that off of the Facebook app. So these are going to continue again to deteriorate in quality, and that is going to make lookalike audiences even more important. So what do you need to know about setting up a lookalike audience? Well, again, I'm actually going to jump into Ads Manager and show you exactly how to do everything I talk about, but the first thing you need to do is choose a base custom audience for your lookalike audience. So what do I mean by that? Well, first you set up a custom audience, and that can be a variety of different things, which I've talked about plenty of times on this channel before. It can be website visitors of your entire pixel, so anybody that visited any page on your website. It can be people who visited a specific page on your website. So for example, a booking page or a page for a specific service that you offer, something like that. It can be people who engaged with your Facebook page. So not just your Facebook page followers, but people who liked post, commented, people who watched videos, people who engaged with your Instagram account, people who watched a specific video, and you could actually create a custom audience based on people who watched a specific amount of a certain video. So there are a ton of different ways you can create these custom audiences. Now, my best recommendation for choosing a base source for a lookalike audience is to make sure it's as deep of an action as you possibly can. And what do I mean by that? Basically what I'm saying is, if you're just targeting as your base source for your lookalike audience, if you're using a custom audience that's people who engaged with your Facebook posts, that's not really a deep action or a deep level of interaction. It's very easy to just scroll by and like a Facebook post without having too much intention between it. Now, your email list, which you can upload into Facebook, this is a great base source for a custom audience as long as it's over 100 subscribers. And with uploading email lists, you need to account for some drop-off. So not every single person on your email list will be able to be matched with a Facebook user because there's different email addresses, different names. Some people don't have Facebook accounts. So you would probably want to have an email list of about 250 to 300 people to ensure that it's able to be used as a lookalike audience. But signing up for a business's newsletter or email list is a great indicator that they are likely to purchase from that product or service because they've expressed clear interest. That's what I call a deep level of interaction with a business. So how can we even get better than this? Well, a lot of people who have e-commerce stores or even in the online education space, they'll actually either through pixel data traffic, which you can set up automatically, or through uploading like a CSV, they can actually create a lookalike audience based off of existing customers. And this is one of the most powerful ways to utilize lookalike audiences. Now, a lot of us who are just getting started, or those of us with brick and mortar businesses that might have a more difficult time being able to access this data, we might not have, again, 100, 200, 300 people to be able to base this lookalike audience off of. So it's pretty rare when I have a client that has, thousands and thousands of records of customer purchase data. So I usually use an email list or website traffic based off of a specific page that we're going to want to target with a Facebook ad. So make sure you're just not basing your lookalike audience off of something super superficial. Like for example, interacting with your Facebook page, watching 3 seconds of a video. To me, that's not giving enough of an indicator that they're actually interested. So the accuracy of your lookalike audience and how well it converts is going to be directly tied to the quality of the base custom audience that you choose. So again, try to use something that is a deep level of interaction, at the very least clicking over to a business's website, better yet, email address, better yet, an email list rather, and then even better yet, using actual purchase data. So the next thing you're going to have to choose after you choose your base source for your lookalike audience is you're going to have to choose a location. So this does it based on country, but if you are a local business that only serves a particular area, don't worry, we're going to talk about that in a second. But basically you have to choose a country to target. Now, if you have mainly, let's say, US-based traffic or US-based customers, it's not going to allow you to create a lookalike audience for Canada, for example, unless you have that 100 people from that country. So whatever country you choose for that lookalike audience, your base custom audience has to have at least 100 people from the country that you wish to create a lookalike audience for. Now, I typically use US-based audiences because that's where most of my traffic comes from. But for those who have international audiences, again, make sure you just keep this fact in mind. Now, the next thing you're going to have to choose is your lookalike audience size, and that's going to be based on percentage. Now, you can choose a 1% lookalike audience, you can choose a 2% lookalike audience. What does that mean exactly? Basically, the larger percentage that you choose, it's going to create more loose ties between your lookalike audience and the actual base source for the custom audience. So again, larger audiences will give you more reach. It will make the audiences a lot bigger, which is important if you have a super, super high budget, but the matching will be less precise. So please keep that in mind. And even a 1% lookalike audience, which is the smallest lookalike audience you can start with, it's over 1 million people, or it's around 1 million people, depending on what additional targeting you layer on top of it. So just keep that in mind. Unless you have a absolutely massive budget, you're not going to be able to reach those 1 million people, especially if you're doing a promotion that is time sensitive or tied to one specific launch. You're not going to be able to reach all of those people with a smaller budget, and your frequency number is going to be able to stay pretty low. So I tend to start with 1% audiences and then expand from there if I really feel like I need to. Now, this is where we're going to talk about kind of refining your audience based off of the lookalike audiences. So if you are a local business, you can add additional location-based targeting after you create a lookalike audience. So you can say, okay, I want to create a US-based lookalike audience that's 1 million people. But then when you're at the ad set level of your ad, which I'll show you in a second, you can actually say, but these people have to live within 5 miles, 10 miles, 20 miles of this specific code. And in addition to location-based targeting, you can also layer additional interest-based targeting on top of your lookalike audience, again, to better qualify those leads. Because something that I like to mention, and I'm gonna read off of my notes because I always get this wrong, even though I literally went to school for statistics. So there's a big problem between correlation and causation here. So while causation and correlation can exist at the same time, correlation does not exactly imply causation. And again, if you've ever taken Stats 101, you kind of know what this means, but basically what it means in this particular context is that just because, let's say I'm targeting people for my Facebook ads business, and I have 1,000 people on my email list, let's say person A and person B. Just because person A and person B, they're both on my email list and they both like dogs, Facebook might take that point of correlation and say, okay, because these people have a similarity, I'm going to include that in calculating this lookalike audience, and it might find more people who like dogs or something like that. And unfortunately, that's not going to do anything for me to grow my Facebook ads business. So I, in particular, really like to add additional interest and behavior-based targeting on top of these lookalike audiences. Now, if you have a really generic, a really broad-based ideal customer avatar, you might not need to do this, but because Facebook ads is so specific, I just add something that's really simple on top of the lookalike audience. So if I'm looking to grow my Facebook ads business, I will add, in addition to the lookalike audience, I'll say at the ad set level that yes, this person has to be in the lookalike audience, but they also have to be an admin of a Facebook page. And that's, again, a really simple distinction, but it really helps me enhance the quality of my lookalike audience. Now, for my Play Cafe Academy audiences, I know that like 99% of my audience is a parent and they're interested in entrepreneurship. And because that business is so specific, I do like to include both of these additional interest behavior-based targeting aspects on top of my lookalike audience. So I'll take a lookalike audience and I'll say, okay, but they also have to be a parent and they also have to be interested in entrepreneurship. And that is some of my best targeting. Those are some of my highest converting audiences. Again, for that, I typically use my email list or my website visitors, but I do find that it is a lot better to add additional location or interest-based targeting on top of it. Now, if you own a brick and mortar or a local business and you're already layering additional location-based targeting on top of your lookalike audience, it might not make a lot of sense to also add additional interest or behavior-based targeting on top of it because you're already working with a much smaller audience than you were at the beginning, and it might just make your audience too small and it won't allow Facebook to do its optimization at the ad set level. So I would typically, unless again you have a very niche business, I would typically recommend layering either location-based targeting or interest-based targeting on top of your lookalike audiences, or you're gonna end up with an audience that is just too small and Facebook isn't going to be able to optimize your ad set. All right, so the next thing I wanna show is how to actually create these lookalike audiences. So here we go, we're going into Ads Manager. Okay, so now I'm in Facebook Business Manager, and all I did so far was select audiences from the left-hand navigation. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is to create a base custom audience, which we're going to base our lookalike audience off of. So under Create Audience, I'm going to say Custom Audience. Now for this, I'm going to use website traffic. You can also upload a customer list, use app activity, all that good stuff. And you can also, this is where you would target your Instagram engagers, people that engage with Facebook videos. All that stuff is down here. So you can go ahead and play around with it, use these little hoverovers to give you more information about each selection. But I'm going to use website traffic, and I'm going to actually use website traffic to a specific page. So I have the right pixel selected. Now I'm going to do people who visited specific web pages, and specifically, I'm going to target people who visited a challenge registration page that I'm sending traffic to right now. So I'm going to do michellecaruana.com/validate. Now, I usually use contains and not equals just because depending on people's browsers and computer setups, sometimes the URL can add different things at the beginning or the end. So I like to use contains as long as you don't have a ton of URLs with the specific keywords that you're looking to target. And you can further refine this. You can include more people. You can include people that visited an additional web page, anything like that. So I'm going to call this challenge traffic. And I always like to say the number of days I'm looking back. For this particular case, 180 days is the furthest you can look back for website traffic. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create audience. Now I can go ahead and hit create lookalike audience here, but I'm going to hit done and show you how you would create one from scratch. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create audience here, but instead of custom audience, I'm going to select lookalike audience. Now for my lookalike source, you can either create a custom audience or a custom audience with value. So this is where you would upload an email address. So let's say I want to target challenge traffic. Now, this is where you can kind of do, again, that automatic value-based pixel targeting. So if you have the purchase conversion event set up on your website, something like that, this is where you would go to select it. But I'm going to select other sources, and I'm going to select the custom audience that I just created, which is challenge traffic 180 days. Now, again, because most of my web traffic is in the United States, I'm going to go ahead and select US. And then the only thing that I have to do now is select the size of the audience. So it's already selected 1% as the default, and I'm comfortable with that. It's about 2.2 million people so far. Again, I have not added any additional targeting on top of that yet, which I will when I go to create an ad. So I'm going to just go ahead and hit create audience. And that is all you need to do. Now this is going to be available at the ad set level. So I'm going to go ahead and go into Ads Manager. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you what exactly this looks like when you're actually setting up a Facebook ad. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create. Now I'm going to breeze through choosing a Facebook ad objective and all of that good stuff, but if you're interested in learning more about what Facebook objective you should choose for your Facebook ad, I do have a video that I'm going to link in the description of this video, so you can go ahead and learn more in here. Just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to go ahead and select traffic, and then I'm going to hit continue because I really want to show you primarily what this lookalike audience will look like on the ad set level. So I'm going to go ahead and go right to that ad set level because this is where we choose our targeting, and this is where we're able to layer additional targeting on top of the lookalike audience. So down here under audience, I'm going to go ahead and select lookalike audience. So I'm going to go ahead and search for this lookalike traffic challenge. This is the one that we just created. And this is, again, where you can add additional targeting on top of it. So I can go ahead and edit. I can change the age range. Now, this is not editing this base lookalike audience. It's just using it for this particular ad set for this particular campaign. So this isn't making global changes to your lookalike audience. It's just saying for this particular ad set, I want to layer this additional targeting. So I'm not going to change the age range. I'm not going to change gender, but I am going to change my additional detail targeting. So as I mentioned in the example, I want to select people that are parents because just based on my research, based on my ideal customer, I know that most of my customers are parents. And I'm going to narrow my audience even more. And I'm going to say they also have to be interested in entrepreneurship. So as you can see on the right, now this is definitely not going to be accurate. This is a much larger audience than that. This is kind of buggy in Facebook Ads Manager. Don't usually look at this audience definition. This is going to be much bigger than less than 1,000 people. It just needs time to adjust. So I just wanted to show you how this would look. Now, again, if you want to add additional location-based targeting, you can do so here. So if you only serve a specific zip code or a specific city, you can go ahead and do this here. You can choose between living in or recently, all that stuff. So that is how to do it. All right, hopefully that demystified Facebook lookalike audiences for you a bit, and now you have the tools and the knowledge to utilize these in your Facebook ad targeting. If you have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to leave me a comment. I read and respond to every single one. I also have some great freebies and other Facebook ad resources listed below this video, so feel free to check them out. And again, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a video. Have a great day.